welcome to Glenview Community Church's Speakers Forum. I'm super excited about tonight, and we have a lot going on in our congregation, and all that information is on our website. So if you're interested in other virtual programs at Glenview Community Church, you can find the information there, and I'll go ahead and put the website in the chat. Molly is going to help us tonight learn how to eat healthy and what we can do with greens a number of different ways, and tell us about the exciting things she's been up to. And I'm super grateful for that, because I know in the midst of national chaos and unrest and stress of pandemics, we need to be able to take care of ourselves and pause and think about how important it is to remain healthy during this time. So Molly, if you want to go ahead, I think people are coming in. I think we have most everybody. So you're welcome to go ahead and start. Thank you, Molly.
Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so you know this general outline of tonight. I have about 15 minutes of information. We're focusing mainly on leafy greens today. And then I'm going to switch back and do a quick demo of 3 recipes that will all make a ton of sense after we've gone through the presentation as to why these recipes and why they could be great for you at home. So, all right. Okay, so eating your green 15. So this is what I'm calling this program of 15 cups of greens a week. So, sorry, my thing is going a little bit slow. So a little bit about me. Several of you were so kind to ask of where I am and what I'm doing. So I'm currently the chef and founder of Lightworks Kitchens. So I've spent about 15 years of my career in restaurants, in and around food service, and it really culminated in a focus on menu strategy and supply chain. Now, personally, this is, of course, after I left Glenview Community, which you guys may remember me as a little towhead running around all the way up through high school. I really struggled for a long period of my life with my weight. I was always a bit heavier than I wanted to be. And the reason I struggled was because I didn't feel like I was in control of it. And I didn't like that feeling very much. So I ended up losing about 40 pounds between 2017 and 2018. I'd had my second child, and I was just heavier than I'd been, but I finally figured out. And for me at that time, I followed a very strict keto diet, so very low carbs, very little sugar, and the weight came off. And then after that, I sort of transitioned back into real life, if you will. And I realized I still felt like I was in control of it. So even though I'd added some things back in, I wasn't quite so strict. Something in the way I was thinking about food and how my body had shifted kept me at a weight I've been really happy with ever since. So this whole process led me to enroll at a place called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or IIN, to become a certified health coach. And at the time I enrolled, I was actually still working full-time in the restaurant industry. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to be a coach full-time per se, but I did know I just wanted a broader view of, why did this work? And why are the traditional things that we've been told, why did they work so poorly for me over many years? And of course, if you look at the national statistics, they're really working quite poorly for most of the country, and why is that and what else is out there? So it's been a great program. I'll actually finish it up in February. And that, combined with obviously all of the events of last year, kind of led me to believe that what I really feel called to do right now is to help people with their health through food. I love food. It's my ultimate passion. It always has been. And food can really hurt you, or food can really make you live your best, most healthy life. So I'm hoping to work in many different ways with people to help them get really confident in their cooking skills, which many of us have because we've been forced to cook more. But I want people to get really comfortable with feeding and cooking nourishing foods that are going to make them feel great. So all of this led me to found Lightwork Kitchens in October. So I've been doing this for just about 4 months. In my kitchen studio, I do virtual classes, I do online coaching, I do private events virtually, all these things to just help people get really comfortable with whole foods ingredients. So that is the mission of Lightwork Kitchens, and my forwarding is going a little slow. Come on. There we go. So we're here at Lightwork Kitchens, transforming the task of cooking into light work. so that every home eats healthfully and hopefully everyone shares the work together so that we're all moving in a great direction towards better health. So I focus on foods that are flavorful first and foremost, also whole ingredients and very much nutrient dense foods. So everything we're eating does something for us when we eat it. So back to the Green 15. What does all of this have to do with the Green 15? First of all, what is it? So the Green 15 is a sort of loose goal of adding 15 cups, which is equivalent to about 750 grams or 1.7 pounds of leafy greens to your weekly intake of food. I like it because it rhymes, so it's easy to remember. That's part of the why, but I have a couple of really, actually 3 really great reasons why 15 cups of greens and not, say, going vegan or, you know, limiting sugar. A couple great reasons why the Green 15. Before I get into the specific nutrient part of it, really the main reason I wanted to start with the Green 15 is because I love to start the year kind of adding things. There's so many tough ways that we want to take things away from ourselves. You know, we want to work out and get out in the cold and add things into our schedule and really, you know, stop doing whatever it is that we're doing. I love with the Green 15 that it's about adding things and getting new flavors and new ways of cooking and just really getting excited about food and especially around greens. So why the Green 15? Why 15 cups of greens when there are so many choices we have to make around our diet? So reason one for the Green 15 is nutrient density. So this is just super high level nutrition 101. There's macronutrients, micronutrients, and phytonutrients are sort of the big buckets of things we eat. Macronutrients, there's only 3: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Anything that our body breaks down to use as fuel or building blocks is going to be some combination of protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Underneath that, we have our micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. These could be water-soluble vitamins, fat-soluble vitamins, microminerals, or trace minerals. So these are things you see on the nutrition label, things with a recommended daily amount, you know, the vitamins A, D, E, and K, iron, magnesium, calcium, those sorts of things. Now, obviously, my pyramid, while I think it's lovely, is a little bit out of balance because they're micronutrients because we eat them in such tiny amounts as compared to these macronutrients, right? But there's a layer of things that we eat that's even below the micronutrients, and these are phytonutrients or phytochemicals. So these are antioxidants that come only from plants, hence the phyto part of the name. And there are over 25,000 today that we know of, and scientists are discovering more every day. So something you might be really familiar with, one of the first ones I heard about are the alpha and beta carotene and the carotenoids family, sort of those orange pigmented plants, great antioxidant properties there. So 25,000 things that fall into that phytonutrient bucket. According to the FDA, at least 40% of the US adult population is deficient in vitamins or minerals. So clearly most of us have a ways to go in getting enough of these in our diet. So going back to the idea of nutrient density, the table you see here is called the ANDI chart, or the Aggregate Nutritional Density Index. So this was developed by a guy named Dr. Furman out of Harvard. And the basic way he creates this score is that health is equal to nutrients over calories. So what this has to do with greens is because it's the only way I can recommend that you would eat 15 cups of anything in addition to what you're already eating, right? What this is saying, if you'll notice the top 8 items, so the green column all the way to the left with the higher scores, the top 8 items are all leafy greens. So this means for every calorie of greens you add to whatever it is you're eating, you're getting a huge amount of nutrients as opposed to adding, you know, a calorie of cola, which would give you essentially no nutrients. So their nutrient density is the #1 reason why I would recommend trying to add more of these to your diet every week. One other thing I wanted to say about especially the phytonutrients in these plants, and this is a quote from Dr. Terry Walls. If you haven't seen her, she has a pretty amazing story about, she created a protocol, the Walls protocol. It has a book and she has a website and all sorts of things now. She had very debilitating MS that got worse and worse and worse over years. And she learned to heal herself through food, which was pretty incredible. She was a very mainstream doctor. This wasn't like woo-woo, come off the mountain with crystals. She was like very focused. And now she has a protocol that she sort of trains out to do more testing on this and help people through autoimmune conditions using food. But her book quotes, "Our ancestors have been consuming phytonutrient-rich plants millions of years. Although science is only beginning to discover what various phytonutrients can do for us, there are thousands of articles that support the health benefits of phytonutrients for everything from antibiotic and antioxidant properties to properties that keep the blood vessels more elastic, facilitate toxin removal in the body, regulate various aspects of immune system function, and improve brain condition." That's a lot in one little section of what we eat, the green leafies. So reason number 2 is fiber. Now, when I first started learning about nutrition, you know, that like 15 minutes we had in high school biology, we were taught there are 2 types of fiber. There's the soluble kind, turns into a gel, and then there's the insoluble kind, and that kind of works like a scrub brush, and they both go through your gut and they're good for you. Okay, awesome. More recently, and this is like 10 years recent, this isn't like yesterday, researchers have uncovered a new role of fermentable fibers, which is to feed the friendly bacteria in our digestive tract. So gut bacteria, also known as the microbiome, is found in connection to almost every bodily function. It controls a lot. And in fact, the gut-brain connection is so strong that some researchers now call the microbiome the psychobiome. So this is the article, and there's links to all this information at the end of the slides, which you'll get as a PDF. But this is an article that I ran across in the Wall Street Journal just a couple weeks ago. And I've actually seen several in the Wall Street Journal and across other publications, just really bringing to light this idea that what we are eating can really be determining our emotional state because it's going through the microbiome. So the microbiome essentially loves fiber, and Americans eat 10 to 15 grams of total fiber per day on average. The US recommends a bit more, 21 to 25 grams for women and 30 to 38 grams for men. So greens play into this because, especially when they're cooked, greens like collards and spinach have 4 to 5 grams of fiber per cup. So a great way to get more fiber into your diet. So reason number 3 that I'm talking about greens today, and what could be more important now than immunity. So according to Dr. Dan Peterson, an assistant professor of pathology at Johns Hopkins, a huge portion of your immune system is actually in your GI tract or your gut. 2013 research from Australia's oldest medical institutes that an immune cell population essential for intestinal health could be controlled by leafy greens in your diet. They are believed to play an important role in controlling food allergies, inflammatory diseases, and obesity, and may even prevent the development of bowel cancers. And finally, cruciferous vegetables contain compounds, this was another study that's also referenced at the back, that aid the intestinal receptors that identify harmful microorganisms. So essentially, when you eat leafy greens, the epithelial layer that would be identifying these sort of bad players in your gut, the response is heightened when you're eating certain leafy greens. They actually called out arugula specifically. So if you like arugula salads, that's good news for you. So just to recap, the greens, top 3 reasons. So green and particularly dark leafy greens have the highest Andy score, meaning you'll get the most nutrients from the fewest calories. 2, dark and cruciferous greens provide much needed dietary fiber to fuel the microbiome, so we have a happy gut. And 3, greens have been shown to bolster the immune system in a variety of ways. So these are all my, scientific reasons that I've chosen to focus on greens today. From a culinary perspective, I will say there are just so many ways to eat them, and I'm going to show you just a few, but they're versatile and they're inexpensive. So combined with all the health benefits, a 4th reason I would say about the greens top 3 is kind of like, why not? It's a little bit of no harm, no foul there in terms of adding these 15 to your diet every week. So the green 15 cups of greens per week, 1 cup per meal for most meals. That is the idea of what this program is all about, the green 15, just trying to up that intake every week. So all that said, it is recipe time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and come back to the kitchen here.
Okay, and is this a time we can ask them, people can ask them questions, Molly, while you switch your setup?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah, definitely.
So you can put questions in the chat if you want to, and I can read them, or if you want to go ahead and unmute or raise your hand and I can call on you. There's a way to raise your hand, and if you click on participants, there's a hand raise function. Anybody have any questions for Molly?
Everybody's convinced. Everybody's going to go home and start eating 10 cups of
All right,
greens.
Terry?
I just wanted to mention, I just joined this group called wiseacre.farm. Has anybody heard of that? It's a vertical farm in Glenview, and they sell just organic greens. They prepare them hydrophonically. And anyway, it's called Wise Acre Farms. And so like this week, I'm getting my first delivery, and they offer arugula, bok choy, curly kale, Russian red kale, mizuna, never heard of that, mustard green, Swiss chard, red vein sorrel, parsley, and basil. So you sign up for a subscription to them and then deliver them every Wednesday to your door. So anyway, I thought that was timely that we were having this discussion, but the place is called Wiseacre Farms, and it's right here in Glenview.
Will you reference me if anyone signs up so I can get a kickback? Just like a small amount.
Have you heard of it?
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Molly, I was wondering if you had heard of it.
I hadn't. There's a place here in the city that I think they're a bit bigger because I see their stuff in like Mariano's. But definitely there's a lot going on with indoor farming and hydroponic and growing in pods. It's very exciting for the future of fresh produce.
I think one of the things nice about this is they have the roots on the lettuce and the greens, and you can just stick them in like a cup of water or something, and they'll stay forever. So anyway,
that's great. Tom?
What are cruciferous greens?
So they're actually the green leafies that come off of cruciferous vegetables. So the cruciferous vegetables are like the cabbage and the broccoli family. So if you were to take, or Brussels sprouts, like if you cut through the stalk of a Brussels sprout, for example, or broccoli, you'll see there's a little cross in the bottom. So that means it's part of the cruciferous family. So any of those leaves have that family of foods seems to be also particularly high in phytonutrients and antioxidants.
This cauliflower would be one too, I guess, right?
Yep, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes, although again, the reason why certainly eat as much cauliflower as you would desire in any given week, but the 15 cups of green leafies, cauliflower does a bit more calories just proportionally than greens. I mean, the thing about greens is that really you can just eat them and eat them and eat them, and you'll, 3 cups of kale is like 15 calories, right? So it's really tough to sort of tip the calorie scale, which is always important when you're thinking about all the things you're eating. All right.
I'm sorry, there was a question about the diet you were on where you lost 40 pounds. You said that was keto, is that right?
It was the keto diet. So
keto
basically,
diet. I say it wrong. Okay, keto.
Yeah, so it was essentially no sugar, very, very limited carbs. Some sources call it the beef and leaf diet, because even something like carrots, I sort of avoided carrots I do carrots now, don't worry, I love carrots. But I really avoided anything with any carbs at all. And for me, in essence, what it did is it sort of shifted my body back to burning fuel in the way that's right for me. And I'm still pretty sensitive to sugar. I guess I always had been, but I never really noticed it till I took it all the way out. And now it's a real frenemy. Like it comes in and it's like, we want to hang out. We're going to have so much fun this time. And then the next morning I'm like, that was not fun. I do not feel good. So, but everybody's a little different. I have one of my best friends is a pastry chef, and she's a twig, and she literally sells cake for a living. She eats and sells cake for a living. So clearly everyone has their,
we are all different. That is true.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to dive right in. You can.
Molly, I muted you. You have to unmute. I'm so sorry. I clicked the wrong button.
There we go. Am I back?
Oh, yes, you're back. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. So the 3 dishes we're going to make today: green apple smoothie, a simple kale salad, and then a really nice saute of bok choy with garlic. There are a lot of spots, just a lot of certainly the health-minded folks on the internet that will do straight green juices. This is really more of a smoothie because it has some apple for sweetness. There are a lot of straight green juices out there if you can get used to the taste of them, because they can be pretty strong if you're not used to it. If you get used to the taste of them, it is an amazing way to knock out so many nutrients before your day even really starts, which can be nice if you're just trying to sort of get the nutrition in. And I will say, you know, as I was developing this program, I obviously tried it myself. Don't worry, you guys aren't guinea pigs. And I'm a coffee lover, but this energizes me in a totally different way. It's more sustained for one, and I never get jittery. But it's, you know, my stomach is just very happy and everything seems to be okay with all the greens I'm eating. So in here, I just did half an avocado, cup and a half of ice water. This is one small green apple, just diced up. And then I'm going to do the juice of half of a lemon. I'm not going to do all of it. That was kind of a big lemon. I love how nice citrus is this time of year. It's my favorite. And we have our half a cup of spinach. So initially when I was saying the 1 cup, that was considering they were raw leafy greens, but this is previously frozen spinach that I thawed a little bit. I like to thaw my spinach for smoothies only because it helps it blend up. And while I do like a green smoothie in the morning, I don't like being surprised by a clump of spinach when I wasn't like mentally prepared for it. So I thaw it so it blends up really nice. And I'm just gonna let this go. So there is our smoothie. And as you can see, it's a pretty substantial amount. I usually takes, I don't know, 45 minutes to finish this. I kind of put it in my little cup and carry it around with me. And I personally, as you sort of heard my story, I kind of trained my palate. I sense things as very sweet now. I would say if you're not on that spectrum, absolutely a tablespoon of honey or agave will really bring the flavors together here, but I will taste on your behalf. This is nice. It was a very sweet green apple, which is helpful. So that would be our 1 cup for the day. So we're a third of the way there, which is great. I'm just going to make this fancy. Sit it over here. And then I'm going to move into our kale salad. So this, I think in the recipe card, I called it a citrus kale salad. What I should call it is the kale salad that I eat almost every single day. And for that reason, this is a green curly kale, but any type of dino kale. Red kale is also very good, but red kale can be very bitter. So just be warned, it looks very beautiful. And then you take it home and you're like, woo, that packs a punch. So all I'm gonna do with this is take off these big leaves. And one of the things I love about kale salad is that by some miracle, my children eat it, which is really like, no, I'm never gonna stop serving it. My kids are 7 and 3. So the fact that they eat kale is like, I'm not asking questions, I'm just serving more of the same. But I took out the ribs and now I'm gonna slice it into pieces about a half an inch, 1/4 inch. You want them kind of fine. So there do tend to be a lot of kale haters out there, especially when it's made into a salad, because they're equally silly people on the other side of the fence who don't dress the kale properly. So then it is kind of like chewing on little slices of wiffle bat, which we don't need that. We can do better. So I just cut that somewhat thinly. And here is the important part. Please, please do me a favor. Never ever serve kale like this. Never. This is meant to like line rabbit cages and salad bars. Like we're not ready to eat it yet. So don't do that. First, we have to dress it. So that was, like I said, that was a big lemon. So I'm gonna add the other half of it like so. So what kale really loves is acid to break it down, and some nice olive oil, again, to really just sort of, I wouldn't say mute the flavors, but kale can have a pretty strong flavor, and it can also have kind of a tough texture. So both of these things are going to help break that kale down. And I just realized my salt is in the other room. Hold please, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a nice pinch of flaky sea salt. If you like black pepper, this is a great time to add black pepper as well. So here is the final and most important part. You got to give it a massage. So kale is such a wonderful thing. It will do great things for your dinner game, but you got to show it some love. You got to get that oil and vinegar and really get it into the kale. It'll be ready when it's sort of, when it looks really, really deep green and it's all nicely coated. I'm just going to give it a taste to make sure I salted enough there. Yes, indeed. So this is kind of a non-recipe recipe, but you really need to be tasting it for enough acid to kind of make it delicious. The salt will help with that as well. And then enough oil to make the bite really pleasant and not too stiff and sort of crunchy. So many beautiful things you can do with this salad. Like I said, I feast it upon my children most nights. It's amazing with Parmesan cheese. It's really amazing with any cheese, but it really likes Parmesan cheese. Great with walnuts, great with sunflower seeds, loves avocado, little red onion. It's actually a very neutral base. You could put proteins on top of it. So this is one whole bunch of kale, which was about 3 cups. So again, if you were going to have half of this as a big giant lunch salad, again, be that much further on your way to 3 cups per day. The most magical thing about this, however, aside from the fact that it's delicious and goes with a lot of different things, is that it will last in your fridge, even dressed, for up to 3 days, which is pretty amazing because most salads, you dress them and then you leave the room and you come back and they're like totally wilted and gone. Not the kale. Kale's going to last for up to 3 days. So it's a really wonderful thing to just have on hand for a snack or round out a meal. I can't say enough about how much I love that salad. So set that off to the side. I'm going to make our final green item of the day, which is this choy. So I'm just turning my heat on this pan to about a medium high. So this is essentially a stir fry. It's a pretty traditional Thai preparation. Although a lot of Thai places, especially Thai places here, tend to add a lot of sugar to the food, and this has no sugar. So again, like with the smoothie, if you make this, you taste it, you think it needs, a little bit of sugar, a little drizzle, it would probably balance the fish sauce and things in a nice way. I just made this preparation totally without it because that's how I'm used to cooking. It's still really wonderful and savory. So here we have some baby bok choy. You can see it's in a colander because sometimes baby bok choy can be a little sandy. So I just cut the little bases off, gave it a rinse, and now it's these individual pieces ready to go. Let me get you out of the way for now. So into my medium-high pan, I'm gonna do this is some avocado oil, but really any neutral cooking oil. I generally cook with olive oil for most things, but I don't like the flavor with this because it's an Asian preparation. I just don't think the flavors go. So into my hot oil is going 2 cloves of garlic, roughly chopped. I'm just gonna stir that around. It smells amazing in here. This needs to be Zoom's next feature, so you guys can smell this amazing garlic situation happening here. So this, I'm just gonna cook a couple more seconds. I want it to be very fragrant, so I know that garlic flavor is also getting through the oil, but I don't want it to brown because then the flavor of the garlic really changes and it can burn very quickly. So, and this is super quick. Again, this sort of preparation, kind of a stir fry style, will go with any green that will take cooking. So full-size spinach, baby spinach would be okay. Baby spinach will wilt a lot, but baby spinach would be good. Thinly sliced cabbage would be good. Lots of greens would work in this application. So I'm just gonna get this a little bit coated. And before I put the lid on, because I'm gonna let it steam just a little bit, here I have 1 tablespoon each of soy sauce and fish sauce. And this is what really brings that sort of unique Thai flavor, is a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. So that's ground white pepper. I use it for very few things that aren't Chinese or Thai. That's just me. So I'm gonna let that steam in the pan for just a minute to soften up. And again, smell the soy sauce sort of caramelizes a little bit on the bottom, and you'll see we're gonna cook out those juices so they're almost syrupy at the end of it. So delicious. So I've got my plate. And again, this is a really nice, a nice preparation because it is so fast. This with a plain piece of fish, a piece of chicken, some grilled tofu, and it's really a very complete meal because there's so much flavor in this bok choy. All right, what's that? So now I'm just going to stir this around until the bok choy is softened, and you'll see the green parts get very green. And my liquids on the bottom have pretty much evaporated, so I can see them there, but they've definitely reduced a little bit. Smells so good. All right, I'm gonna turn off heat here and just pile this up on my plate. And so this was about, this recipe has a pound of bok choy, which is enough for 3 or 4 servings, depending on, you know, what role this plays in the dinner and how hungry everyone is. And yeah, just depending sort of what other dishes you have. So 2 to 4 people. And then at the end of it, you can see I have this sauce here. But there's not, I mean, it shouldn't be swimming in this sauce. There's not a whole lot of it. It did reduce a little bit in the pan to make sure that lovely garlic comes with us because it's such a nice flavor, garlic and greens. I'm actually gonna get the rest of that out of the pan because garlic and greens are just very good friends. They really like to hang out. So there we have it. Technically, I had this as breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but really you could eat any of them at any time. And this combined with the other foods of your day, there it is, day 1 of the Green 15. Check the box. So that is what I have for you. I wanted to let you know, I want to open it back up. I know I went pretty quickly through the cooking stuff. So if you have any questions on cooking preparation, there's absolutely time for that. Again, here at Lightware Kitchens, I'm going to send you guys an email with to the recipes and my website. I do this sort of thing all day, cooking with individuals and groups. I'm actually getting together with another GCC chapter group on Thursday, but we're just going to cook. I won't make them listen to nutrition at all. They just get to cook food and possibly drink wine. I don't know. I haven't checked yet. But this is sort of what I do. I love talking about food and nutrition, and I hope this was really helpful for you guys to sort of incorporate some new flavors into
it. Was very helpful. I learned so many things about greens, and especially kale, because I always, when I have it, I always feel like it's not quite right, but now I know I need to smush it. Massage it. So there's a question about, is there a vegan alternative to fish sauce, which is also a question I had, because that's one thing that I have a trouble finding a sub for.
There are vegan versions of fish sauces. I think they are not dissimilar to coconut aminos. Okay. So I have seen them. I have not personally tried them. As you can imagine, it's a very strong flavor. So I would imagine that is also a very strong flavor, but that is a good one for me to check out. At this point, the internet probably knows better than I do. I know there is fish sauce. I just can't attest to how much it tastes like. There's recipes for vegans fish sauce, but they take forever and they're not very good. So I think the coconut aminos, I think that was that's a doable idea. Yeah, or you could just skip it and do just the soy sauce, and it's still a pretty great, I mean, just with the soy sauce and the white pepper, it's still a pretty punchy combination in the garlic. So yeah. Thank you. Are there other questions that folks have? This is the silence, the most silent I've heard this crowd. Molly, you've stumped us all. Wow, that's great. Let's see if there's another question. I think it was just the one. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Yes,
joining us
absolutely,
and
my
doing
pleasure.
this. And I know, oh, what are your other favorite leafy greens that you like?
I do love arugula. I love especially baby arugula, makes my favorite salads. Not mixed with anything else, just the arugula, especially with goat cheese or with citrus. That's another really nice thing about starting a green 15 at this time of year is greens and citrus not only have health benefits from going together, but they also taste really good together. Like this salad with oranges is fantastic. So I love arugula. And I didn't really touch on it today because it's hard to get them in bulk. But one of the things I think about as a chef when I'm cooking at home, and one of the real differences I see between the way I tend to cook and someone who, doesn't have as much cash culture, is I load up my food with fresh herbs. I see these recipes on the internet. It's like, add a teaspoon of parsley. It's like, no, why would you ever add a teaspoon of parsley? Add like half a cup, like add it all. It adds color. It adds nice flavor without overpowering. And herbs are also a really good way to get some of these benefits. Although you won't eat them in such huge amounts, they really brighten up your food. So it's exciting to hear. I'm going to have to get the link to that hydroponic spot because you mentioned a lot of great greens. One of the ones it sounds like they have is sorrel, which if you guys have tried, has a really like interesting sour flavor. And that's just nice because it's so different. Sorrel is not something you see a whole lot of except in farmers markets.
And there was another question about what can you do with red kale? And what's the difference between red kale and green kale while we're on it?
So red kale, you can do this same thing with red kale. Generally speaking, though, red kale is going to have a really, really high note of bitterness. So cooking wise, you're going to want to think about it more like you would think about a radicchio. So it does well, you could grill it. You could put it with just very strongly flavored food. So if you think of the same pairings, things like blue cheese, things like really rich oils, or like it's a wonderful complement to a very rich piece of meat like a duck leg. So red kale, you just kind of have to know what you're going into because it is that strong flavor. So if you think of that strong bitterness of radicchio, it's delicious, but you tame it with a lot, more acid, more oil. You're really kind of taming that flavor back in. On the other hand, anytime you're eating a food that is good for you and has that much bitterness means you're getting a ton of the good stuff, right? Because that's where all the antioxidants are hiding in those compounds that kind of taste bitter to us.
So Molly, I have another question. Is there a cookbook for leafy greens that would be a good place, a starting point for recipes, or a website that you like that you could recommend?
Well, now I know I should write one because I do love leafy greens. I love the Chez Panisse cookbook for anything vegetables, but I can't say I've specifically researched it for leafy greens. I'm sure they have good ones in there. Chez Panisse, the Alice Waters, just Chez Panisse vegetables. I think she wrote it in like the 70s. It's an oldie but a goodie.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll just put
and that just has a lot of great treatments of a lot of vegetables. Okay. But yeah, that's a great question. If I find any others, I'll certainly pass them along.
Yeah. All right. Are there other questions? We're all going to eat healthier now. We're going to stress eat kale instead of other things. That's what we need to do. And we can get out our frustration, right, Molly, by massaging it. So
yes, and then your gut is going to be so happy, your stress will just melt away. You'll just walk away from the dinner table and be like on cloud 9. You'll feel so wonderful. Or maybe you'll be like Popeye. You'll get like really strong. Like walls. Could happen.
It could happen. Oh, it does happen. I think eating healthy helps our mood. Absolutely. I noticed that about myself. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. And if the next speakers forum is going to be January 27th, and you can learn how to be an anti-racist, and you can sign up on our website. And I want to thank Tom and Peter for organizing all these wonderful events for us as part of the Faith Formation Ministry. So thank them as well. So that is all, folks. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.